Welcome back to Pennsylvania Outdoor Life. You know, those spinners don't make themselves, but he knows how to do it. We are actually going down in his basement, in his workshop, to make a spinner.
My company's name is Sereno Spinners.
Named after what, Ricky?
After my home territory, my home address here. I live in Sereno Hollow, and that's what I named it after. I've used spinners all my life, and actually after I retired, I decided I wanted to get into a little hobby, and spinners were getting a little expensive at the time, and I was losing a lot of spinners, so I decided I'd make my own, and that's basically how I got into it.
So was it an expensive venture? I mean, you have a nice little setup here, right?
No, it isn't. It was, I mean, a couple $100, and anybody can really get started in this, and it just leads from one thing to another. And
so you're down in your basement, and you sit here, and you look like you even enjoy yourself when you're in here making spinners.
I do. I can come down here for hours and just bend up spinners.
So what are you going to make for us today?
I'm going to make one that I call the Ridiculous Rick Brass. That's
Ridiculous Rick Brass.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll do the ridiculous, and then I'll make another one called the Ridiculous Rick Magnum. It just adds a little color, which I really use a lot for rainbows.
Okay, let's get started. How do you get started on this?
Okay, first thing I do, I always I get my wire, and I already get them looped because it saves me a little time. I can bend a loop, but I buy them looped already.
Okay.
Basically, I take these little clevises, are the first thing to come out. These things are tiny, so you take a clevis, brass number 2, on the spinner.
So the spinner blade is already on.
It's already on.
Okay.
Then I add a little 3/16 brass ball. And then my body is a little heavier. It's a 1/3 of an ounce. And that's what I make this. And that's basically the spinner body and blade.
Yep. And
then I'll have to bend her up.
Oh, I see what you're doing here.
And then I use a number 10 hook. I like
treble, right?
Yes, treble. And I like a little bit smaller hook because I found out using a smaller hook on my spinners, you don't get snagged as much because it's basically a little bit smaller than your body, and you don't get hung up in the bottom much.
And now you're just finishing that.
And you just finish up that loop. And you got yourself a Ridiculous Rick.
That's awesome. Okay, so Ricky said you're going to make 2. What's next?
Sure, I'm going to make what I call the Ridiculous Rick Magnum. I just added a little color to this one because I found out that, you add a little color, I seem to catch more rainbows on just adding that little pink ball.
All right, well, let's get to it.
All right.
So like before, right?
Yep,
Tell
just
me what
like
you're doing
before.
here again.
Take the clevis, and then we'll put the clevis through the blade itself. And then you take the wire, put her through the clevis.
Okay.
And then what I do, I always add my brass ball first because that, you got to have that metal against metal to get a good spin on a spinner.
Okay.
And this is a 5mm pink. It's called bubble gum.
Okay.
And then
I'm seeing what you're doing here.
Then I just add the same brass body that I did on the Ridiculous Rick, and it just adds that little pink color, which really works on the rainbows.
Okay.
We're ready for the hook. A few bends here.
Same size hook, right?
Same size hook, yeah. And I basically use, the only time I do fool around with some steelhead spinners I make for myself. And I do use bigger hooks and, for that type of spinner. But all my trout spinners, I use a number 10. And there's the ridiculous Rick Magnum.
All right, and let's put that next to the other one. Let me see both of them together here. The first one's a ridiculous Rick.
Ridiculous Rick. And a ridiculous Rick Magnum.
That's awesome. Take a moment and tell me, where can people get your lures? Where are they available right now?
Sure. Right now, they're available at Gumpy's Creekside Cabin in Millville, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And they're also available at Arnold Lockman at Heritage Bait and Lures in Bloomsburg.
Okay.
And also Fish's Worms is a bait shop on 93 in Orangeville.
And you have a Facebook page.
And I have a Facebook page.
Which is what?
It's just Sereno Spinners. Nice and easy.
I love when we're done with the story and somebody says, you could come back anytime and fish. Ricky, I am going to be joining you on a fishing trip. You could bet that. Now, we're going to indeed take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to have a story with some tips for you. So stick around.